Hey everyone, Derek here from Bomb Socks with more Bomb Bites, where we feast upon the words of Christ, one bite at a time. So I've always wondered, when we get to the other side, if we'll get a chance to be able to see some of the actual events that took place in the scriptures. Like you can actually go and, if there's like a Netflix service or some kind of an Apple TV or some kind of a streaming service where you can go in, you can check out the actual events. I think that would be awesome. Hopefully that technology is working over there. So one of the things I want to see is this one right here. Yeah. You got to look at this one with Moses parting the Red Sea. I'd like to think that, the good old 1964 Cecil B. DeMille 10 Commandments thing really captured it, but I don't know. I think that maybe there was a little bit more to it than that. I think it's just a cool story. So the question is, by what authority did Moses do this? And of course, we're talking about the priesthood. So obviously that's priesthood authority that Moses was able to do that with. Where did he get this priesthood authority to be able to do this kind of miraculous, wonderful thing? Well, if you look right here, you have got Moses's line of priesthood authority. It's in section 84, verses 6 through 16. In fact, you pull it up right here. It talks about the sons of Moses, according to the holy priesthood, which he received under the hand of his father-in-law, Jethro. And then Jethro received it under the hand of Caleb, Caleb through Elihu, Elihu through Jeremy, Jeremy under the hand of Gad, Gad to Esaias, Esaias, it talks about under the hand of God, but then it says Esaias also lived in the days of Abraham and was blessed of him. You got Abraham through Melchizedek, through Noah, to Enoch, to Abel, and all of a sudden you go back to Adam, which goes all the way back to God. So you trace that priesthood authority of Moses all the way back to God. Fun fact, and many of you know this, every priesthood holder can do the very same thing. In fact, let me show you mine right here. So this is my line of priesthood authority. Okay, so when I received the priesthood, back in 1991, I was ordained to be an elder as I was getting ready to prepare for my mission. So I, Derek Allen Crimmen, that's me, was ordained an elder January 7th, 1991 by a wonderful man named Dwayne W. Crimmen. That was my father, Dwayne Wallace Crimmen. So it's kind of cool. You keep looking at it. My dad, Dwayne Wallace Crimmen, was ordained a high priest on October the 15th, 1967 by Ludine P. Snow. And so my dad has actually told me this story. It's kind of a fun little story. So he was sitting in he was a stake executive secretary, and the stake presidency and the high council were there, and then my dad was there as well. And so all of these men were high priests, and my dad was an elder. They were actually talking about a high priest group meeting that they were going to go to, and they asked my dad if he was going to go, and he's like, no, I'm actually an elder. And the stake president was like, oh really, you're not a high priest? Huh. And so he politely asked my dad to just step out of the room for a minute, and I guess they talked about, they talked about getting my dad being ordained to be a high priest, and so they brought him back in, and they said, hey, so we all sustained this, we're going to ordain you to be a high priest right now. And so the stake president was able to ordain my dad to be a high priest right there. My grandpa was not a member of the church, and so the stake president was able to be that example for my dad to be able to do that. So anyway, it's kind of a cool little thing, but you pull back to this line of priesthood right here. You got this Ludine P. Snow, who was the stake president. He was ordained by Elijah Dixon. I don't know who that man is, but he's super cool because he was ordained by Melvin J. Ballard. Back in the day, you would often get this from an apostle. So Melvin J. Ballard was ordained by Heber J. Grant to George Q. Cannon, George Q. to Brigham Young, and you go Brigham Young all the way back to the three witnesses, Oliver Cowdery, David Whitmer, Martin Harris. We've talked a lot about those guys. And then you've got Joseph Smith and Oliver Cowdery. They received it from Peter, James, and John. Peter, James, and John received it from Jesus Christ himself. So myself, I can trace my priesthood authority back in just a few steps to Jesus Christ himself, which is so cool to be able to do that. Okay, so why do you think it's important to know that priesthood authority extends in a direct line back to God? Well, cool quote from Elder Holland. He says, in the authorized work of God, there has to be a power greater than already possessed by the people in the pews or in the streets or in the seminaries. We in the restored Church of Jesus Christ can trace that priesthood line of authority exercised by the newest deacon in the ward, the bishop who presides over him, and the prophet who presides over all of us. That line goes back in an unbroken chain to angelic ministers who came from from the Son of God himself. You know, when someone says, by what authority have you done this? Well, let me show you. And so it's awesome to be able to do that. And so I would recommend, if you're a priesthood holder and you don't know that, maybe there's some ways that you can find that out to be able to see that lineage traced back. So it's super cool. You get to see Moses is here and gives you an idea, but Moses and I have a lot in common. We both can trace our priesthood authority back to God. And that's probably about it, but still, I feel like that's pretty significant. So anyway, it's kind of cool to be able to have that, and I'm grateful for it. Hey, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and thanks for sharing. We will see you tomorrow. Godspeed. Bye-bye.